Alright, so today's video is a bit different because we're talking about the Online Safety Act. And in case you weren't aware what that was, in essence, any, I guess, adult content or like graphic content, you have to basically verify your age so that you can see it. So essentially here I'm going to show you on screen, somebody would like to go on the hub, if you may, but in the UK you have to verify your age. So essentially to do that you have to basically face scan yourself and basically send identification for that. Now, I don't need to explain to you why that's bad, but we're going to get into that a bit later. And so that's essentially what's been going on. And you know what? It's been such like an uproar in the internet, naturally so, because there's a lot of implications inside of this act that don't make a lot of sense to people, me included. And there's some stuff that's unintentionally vague, but it's very like to the discretion of a private company, more or less than the government actually doing it. Because mind you, while this is up, this isn't exactly the best in terms of a smaller company. But however, there's some people who put on like a repeal the Online Safety Act and actually got like over 100,000 signatures like over the weekend, I believe. And so that's quite a bit to consider. It says here, like, here Parliament will consider this for a debate, and the government actually responded, and it says here, the government is working with Ofcom to ensure that online in-scope servers are subject to robust but proportionate regulation through the effective implementation of the Online Safety Act in 2023. So, in layman's terms, the UK government said, yeah, we're not getting rid of it. That's basically what it was. So, yeah, it's not looking great. And if you guys want to feel even more black-pilled on this kind of stuff, I have something else for you. They're looking into introducing the Kids Online Safety Act. Okay, so you can imagine how I feel about this. And yeah, so it's just been introduced, so we don't know what it is yet. Luckily for people, bills take a very long time to get introduced. And so that is what it is. But forgetting the main topic, I feel like I gotta say this at the beginning of the video, but when it comes to stuff like protecting children from the online world, I am a firm believer that restricting this stuff isn't really going to help. I believe that you have to teach people, you have to show them how to navigate the internet properly, okay? Because just banning this stuff outright is only going to fuel people's curiosity more. Oh, why is this banned? How am I going to get in to see this? And also, what's stopping like Little Jimmy from going out, taking his mother's identification and just signing into these sites anyway? So it's not like you're not really stopping this kind of stuff from happening. So to me, I say parents need to definitely step up. Maybe don't give your child an iPad or something to give him some toys or some Hot Wheels or something, or I don't know, Barbie dolls, just anything. Because I do not believe that people understand how to navigate the internet, because one, it's so vast, but two, it's just that there's just so much stuff to take in. And so I feel like you have to really guide people on how to navigate it properly. That's what I think you have to do, okay? And by the way, in case you're unaware, you actually can disable sites by yourself, like on your own network. If you want to disable like porn sites on your, in your household, you can actually do that. There's ways to do it. So if people don't want that stuff in the house, like, they can do that. But anyways, I digress. So that's where we're at now in terms of... So let's actually take a look at the act itself, because maybe I didn't really understand how it worked, but perhaps together we can maybe take a look at it, because I am not really sure, what occurs inside of this act either. But let's take a quick look. So according to the official UK website itself, or the government of UK, it says here, the Online Safety Act 2023 is a new set of laws that protects children and adults online. It puts a range of new duties on social media companies and search services, making them more responsible for their users' safety on their platforms. The act will give providers new duties to implement systems and processes to reduce risks their services are used for illegal activity, and to take down illegal content when it does appear. The strongest protections in the act have been designed for children. Platforms will be required to prevent children from accessing harmful and age-inappropriate content, and provide parents and children with clear and accessible ways to report problems online when they do arise. The act will also protect adult users, ensuring that major platforms will need to be more transparent about what kinds of potentially harmful content they allow, and give people more control over the types of content they want to see. Ofcom is the independent regulator of online safety. It will set out steps providers can take to fulfill their safety duties in codes of practice. It has a broad range of powers to assess and enforce providers' compliance with the framework. Providers' safety duties are proportionate to factors including the risk of harm to individuals and the size and capacity of each provider. This makes sure that while safety measures will need to be put in place across the board, we aren't requiring small services with limited functionality to take the same actions as the largest corporations. Ofcom is required to take users' rights into account and when setting out steps to take, and providers may simultaneously duties to pay particular regard to users' rights when fulfilling their safety duties. So, for the most part, okay, it's from their own mouths themselves, they're basically putting pressure on social media companies, and the part that has me a bit odd is that it's the companies that have to do it. So imagine you have like a little startup or something, and you have a bit, or they say it, not even that. So you have like an independent news article that you post, okay, and you have to put verification. You're independent. You don't have that kind of money. So you're telling somebody who has that, basically say, oh, put in these measures or else you can't show stuff that's on there. Because mind you, stuff like mainstream news has had like, nobody really trusted that much, and people like to go to more independent stuff. But independent stuff is not as funded as, say, bigger things like, I don't know, what you call it, like CNN or something. I don't know. I'm just saying that in the broad scope, bigger corporations can take this hit, but the smaller ones can't. And sometimes the small stuff is really what it has. So, you may be asking, who does this act apply to? Speaking of what we're talking about, it says here, the act's duties apply to search services and services that allow users to post content online or to interact with each other. This includes a range of websites, apps, and other services, including social media services, consumer files, cloud storage, and sharing sites, video sharing platforms, online forums, dating services, and online instant messaging services. The Act applies to services even if the companies providing them are outside the UK and they have links to the UK. This includes if the service has significant number of UK users, if the UK is a target market, or it is capable of being accessed by UK users, and there is a material risk of significant harm to users. Okay, so my question actually is that, and I'm pretty sure that's probably the case, but I'm gonna say it anyway. But my question is, does this affect, say, for example, like Google search engine? Okay, is Google.uk being restricted now because you can't access certain parts of the website because it's posted up in the UK, and so you can't really go and search for like the heavier topics? That's just my question I have. Like, it's like an open-ended question. If anyone has the answer to that, please let me know. But to my understanding, it's a bit weird what we have here. And so keep going here. Like, if they keep talking about, you have duties of illegal content, duties about content harmful to children, and duties for categorized services. I'll leave these on screen if you guys pause and read if you want to. But essentially here, the part that has me really interested is that if you actually look down here, you have categories. So category 1, 2A, and 2B. So essentially, categories are the what's the most severe, and what's really harmful, and what's 2A and B, and that's like less severe. And so essentially, this regulator is going to come in and say, hey, all right, this is a category 1, you got to provide this. So it's really at the discretion of the government. And so the problem I really have is that the government's not the one who's individually auditing these, which would be not as great either. But either way, leaving it to companies' discretion can leave you pretty much open to having your personal information leaked out, or not even leaked, just stored somewhere you don't want it to, because a big draw of the internet is the anonymity of it. So sometimes you'll get some of the nastiest opinions on the internet because it's anonymous. But to me, I would rather have the nastiest opinions be out there, because at least you know who not to listen to and who not to look at, compared to who just kind of like, oh, they say it a bit softer, they say it in a way that's like, you can beat the system. Because I'm sure, like, even on YouTube, you have somebody who's, a racist, and it's like, all right, well, I can't say my beliefs, all right, but I can smooth it over. I can give you like a dog whistle, for instance, to talk about that. I can give you certain words that I'm going to use to, get underneath the system. So me personally, I like stuff out in the open. That's just me. So this is why this act is a bit weird to me, because it's like, why would you do that? It's not helping anybody. And because of this, a lot of big concern is that it's going to escalate into further types of censorship, which was actually shown in the Protect Children Act or Protect Kids Act or whatever it said, which is kind of insane to me. But it gets worse, by the way. It gets worse. So it says here, like, criminal offenses introduced by the act into effect on January 31st, January 2024. These offenses cover encouraging or assisting serious self-harm, cyber flashing, sending false information intended to cause non-trivial harm, threatening communications, intimate image abuse, and epilepsy trolling. I've never even heard of that one, to be honest with you. And so Yeah, there's more to it. I'll link it down below. There's even more like qualifications they have for like particular types of content with violence and this and that. So the precedent and the big question is like, say you have like an M-rated game that's already like 17 plus. Okay, are you going to stop children from playing the game that's 17 plus? You're gonna ask for identification every time you make an account. So there's just so much wrong with it, and there's so much stipulation that hasn't been put into it that it's like, oh, well, is not really, we're not really told what's going on here. But a really big problem now is, you know how I mentioned smaller organizations getting hit? Well, it turns out that Wikipedia is one of those. And so here I have for you from 17th of July, where it says here, next week on 22nd and 23rd July 2025, the High Court of Justice in London will hear the Wikimedia Foundation's legal challenge to the categorization regulations of the United Kingdom's Online Safety Act. So as you know, Wikipedia actually got categorized apparently as a Category 1, which means is the most like, not dangerous, but it's the most like harmful, I guess you could say. And mind you, okay, on Wikipedia, when you look something up, you have people who will post like gory photos. You have people who will post like certain tragic events. You have people talk about violence against other people. Like that's what you're going to see when you go and sign on to these apps in the first place. Now, what is great about Wikipedia is that you just go on there, you look for what you need, and you goosey go in and get out. Okay, you want like a tragedy or like a massacre, then you go look it up on Wikipedia, and you'll probably get some images. Now, while it's a great hub for information to like start off your research, the big problem is that Wikipedia is very independent, and it's not really sourced a lot of the time. And if you ever go on Wikipedia from time to time, you'll see that they'll be asking for donations. So essentially, they don't make any money off of it. Most of the money they do goes to maintaining Wikipedia up to begin with. It's basically a bunch of volunteers keeping stuff up to date and all that. Like, even if you hear, like it says here, information on Wikipedia is written and curated by a global community of nearly 260,000 volunteer contributors. These volunteers set and enforce policies to ensure that information on the platform is fact-based, neutral, and attributed to reliable sources. Over the last 25 years, this human-centered content moderation model has established Wikipedia as an unparalleled resource for reliable information. In over 300 languages, its 65 million articles are viewed more than 15 billion times per month worldwide. So it's not like some small local company. Like, it's pretty big that people use it, but because it's mostly it's free for people to use, it doesn't make money. And guess what? You have to set up a whole separate verification system. Just says, hey, we don't want you to we want you to basically bleed out money that you don't have. And so that's why Wikimedia is taking them to court, because it's like, we don't like this at all. And this precedent could also set worse ones to the other places in the future, like not just the UK. Because mind you, when one law is placed somewhere else, it has a ripple effect to other places. It's not just in the UK as an isolated incident. It goes to other places, which is why people are like, yeah, it's not exactly something you want to be involved in to begin with. So that's why it has that. So we keep going on here. It says here, if enforced on Wikipedia, Category 1 demands would undermine the privacy and safety of Wikipedia's volunteer contributors, expose the encyclopedia to manipulation, vandalism, and divert essential resources from protecting people and improving Wikipedia, one of the world's most trusted and widely used digital public goods. So even then, you having to verify your information to show that you're a contributor puts you at risk. And by the way, there's a lot of people who like to post misinformation all the time. And so if Wikipedia gets attacked, that's a big hub of misinformation getting spread all over the place. So you don't want that, okay? You don't want that in the slightest. And so, like I said, my big question is always, what will happen next? And I want to show you guys something that's a bit interesting, actually. That's something that I covered some time ago, but I want to go back and revisit it because it kind of ties into what I was saying earlier. So I came across this article the other day, which was actually going to be a different video, but I'll just put it in here because it's already here. But it says here, YouTube wipes out thousands of propaganda channels linked to China, Russia, and others. Now you ask me, why am I talking about propaganda channels? Is because I believe the acts of terrorism was also in the act for, the Online Safety Act. Or like, I believe propaganda falls under here somewhere. And so it says here, Google announced Monday the removal of nearly 11,000 YouTube channels and other accounts tied to state-linked propaganda campaigns from China, Russia, and more in the second quarter. The takedown included more than 7,700 YouTube channels linked to China. And if you go down here, over 2,000 removed channels were linked to Russia. The content was in multiple languages that supported Russia and criticized Ukraine, NATO, and the West. And so, if it says here, Google may remove 20 accounts, 4 ad accounts, and 1 blogger linked to RT, or Russian Today, I believe. The Russian state-controlled media outlet accused of paying prominent conservative influencers for social media content ahead of the 2024 election. Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and Benny Johnson, all staunch supporters of President Donald Trump, made content for Tenet Media, the Tennessee company based in the indictment, according to NBC News. So I actually covered this way back when it got out. And so my question is that, so with this Online Safety Act, would channels like this have to be audited like 24/7? Because it's been shown that without any online safety laws or online this and that, YouTube, for example, will not be the ones who will be, they'll take that stuff down by themselves, okay? If you're clearly posting content that's propaganda, you get taken down for it. Hell, if we even go down to YouTube themselves here in June, they talk about how many channels they took out. For example, here, you have 2,598 YouTube channels and 1 block from domain eligibility to appear on Google News services. So, it's not that these companies can't regulate themselves. It's just that, it's a bit slow at sometimes, but seeing that it's possible, I don't think the Online Safety Act is pushing it in the right direction, because YouTube is backed by Google or Alphabet or whatever you want to call it, and so they can fund this kind of moderation. However, as I point out with Wikipedia, that's not possible. And even then, if you look into the case, I'm pretty sure, what's her face? I forget her name. I think her name was Lauren Chen or something. Her channel is gone. It's gone. Okay, I terminated because they found out. Oh, guess what? You are kind of linked to Russia, so we don't want you. We don't want you there. And for example, another example I have here is hey, for example, the Nelk Boys did a podcast with Netanyahu. Okay, arguably the most controversial man on the planet at the moment. Okay, and so I won't really put my opinion on the podcast, but essentially, if that's if that's also treated as propaganda, who's individually auditing this stuff? Okay, who's looking at this? So you see why I'm telling you the Online Safety Act is worse than we think, because it doesn't make any sense and it's not even regulated properly. And so you're basically giving out your information for free when you shouldn't have to in the first place. Because the whole point is the best security is your privacy. Okay? You can put as many passwords you want, all that stuff, but being private is your best defense against all this other stuff. So if your ID is out there into a database in the ether or something, someone can go in and take advantage of that. And also, by the way, VPN use just spiked after this act came up. So it's not like people are not going to find ways around it. So I guess if in the UK, your VPN is your best friend. So it's not like it's not like this act is going to stop people from using VPNs. Now, I have seen some rumors or stuff or whatever that they might be going after VPNs. I don't know how true that is, because there's been other attacks on VPNs in the past, and everybody uses a VPN, okay? If you work for a company, you have your own network, okay? Especially if you work in the government, you have your own network. So it's just weird how VPNs are also being targeted. But regardless of all that, yeah, here we are, guys. It's kind of insane to me that we're even at this point. And so you're basically giving up your information for literally no payoff under the guise of protecting children. But if they want to protect children, then let's go and educate said children. Let's go and take a look at, what children are watching. I don't know. Or let's get some parents more involved in what their children are doing. Capiche? So anyways, yeah, so I feel like this is not the end of this saga. It's probably going to get a bit more worse. But this is low-key how the internet gets censored. And, the internet kind of is the last, I guess, frontier in terms of getting stuff unfiltered. But sadly, that's not really, that's more in a perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world. So I just wanted to point out that, yeah, so I guess start opening up that Onion browser or do what you got to do, guys. But yeah, Online Safety Act. In my opinion, it is absolute garbage. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow my social description below. But that's it for me today. So I'll see you next video. Ciao.